Sometimes we are getting financial setback in our business, not because we're not smart and not because we don't try and not because we picked the wrong strategy. It's because we gave our hard-earned money to someone who markets diversity but doesn't practice it. Today, we're talking about why I became extremely intentional about who I hire, who I buy from, and who I trust with my nervous system, and how you can protect yourself without turning into a paranoid detective. But quick disclaimer, this is not me saying that every white coach out there is bad. That's not the conversation. This is me saying that a lot of people are using black faces and allyship language as a marketing strategy, but behind the scenes, the experience does not match the branding. And when that happens, it is different for Black women, especially Black immigrant women, because we don't always have the luxury of, oops, oh well, I lost $3,000. Lesson learned. For many of us, losing that money, it means you pause your next investment for months. It also means sometimes that you're second guessing yourself when you have to make the next decision, when you have to choose the next person to work with. You feel embarrassed, or sometimes you get emotionally drained, or you start moving like, I guess I'll just have to figure it out alone, even when you should have support, when you deserve support, especially if you paid for it. So I want to talk about how I learned this the hard way. I did. And now I do things differently. So I'm going to talk about what I do differently now. I used to think, especially when I started a couple of years in the online business space, I used to think that choosing a coach or a program or even a therapist, it was just about credentials. Now I think about capacity, because if I'm paying you and your environment makes me feel unsafe, dismissed, talked over, or punished, even for advocating for myself, I am not getting results anyways. And that's why I tell people this isn't only about money. This is also about your nervous system. Because if your nervous system is in a fight or flight, every time you enter a group, every time you post or ask a question or you're trying to get help, you are not learning. You are surviving. So here's something that I start noticing in the online space. People will say things like, we are committed to diversity. This is a very safe space, and we stand with Black women. Or we did the work. We did the unlearning. They'll even put Black women on their website, and they'll use the language, they'll post the nice square on social media, they'll even quote the books. But the question is, do they practice it in their policies? Do they practice it in the community culture? Do they practice it in the way that they handle conflict, especially when a Black woman is involved? Because the work that is supposed to be done isn't just reading one book and then calling it a day. The work is ongoing unlearning, unlearning language, unlearning habits, unlearning business practices, unlearning entitlement, unlearning defensiveness. And I'm telling you right now that, yeah, in 2026, some people don't do it. They just market it. When a Black woman invests and gets harmed by that experience, she doesn't just loses money. She loses trust in community. She loses momentum, okay? And and sometimes she even loses confidence. She loses energy and she loses time that she will never get back. And then she has to rebuild not only her business, but she has to rebuild the belief that support is safe. It can be a safe space. Now I am very intentional. I'm not picky. I'm not paranoid. I'm intentional. So I remember I was in a paid group, and the host of that group, she had partnered with another person to run something separate. And from that, I followed the partner because I assumed that if this person is aligned with this brand, then they must share the same values. That was my first mistake because I automatically transferred the trust to that person. And I remember that I ended up buying something from the business partner. Let me tell you, the experience, it was microaggression, weird energy. It was basically a culture that felt really off for me. So I clocked it, but I kept telling myself, oh, maybe I'm reading too much into it. You see that sentence right there? A lot of us Black women, we say that right before something goes left. We say it, it's like we're gaslighting ourselves and we're not trusting our own intuition. Then I remember life happened for me in that group. I had a family emergency. The important detail that I didn't mention earlier is that this was a monthly service. It wasn't a pay once and you get all the replays a course. It wasn't a course. It was something that was delivered month by month. And I had prepaid for 3 months. I didn't have to, but I did. And when I had the emergency, I did not ask for a refund. I gave a 30-day notice out of courtesy. So 30 days before my 3 months expired, I said, hey, I'm dealing with an emergency. And once my prepaid time ends, I will not continue. No drama, no demands. It was just communication. And guess what the response was? She went ahead and canceled my membership immediately, removed all my access, and basically cut me off before I even completed what I paid for. And I remember sitting there like, hold on, what is happening here? Because I'm sitting on on the other side, my computer, I'm waiting for a reply to my 30-day notice. I remember thinking, if your whole brand is community, integrity, values, why is it that your first move is punishment? And I want to be clear. Yes, I know I paid for a month, but I didn't even get it. And the deeper issue here is that I was treated like a problem for communicating like an adult. There was no curiosity on her part, no humanity. This was just control. That's when I realized that some people, they don't want clients. They want compliance. So, anyways, I was so surprised by her reaction. I messaged the business partner because we had friendly exchanges before. And I said to her, well, this is shocking because your brand critiques coaches who do things like this. And she went quiet. Then later, the quiet tone shifted to, well, your issues weren't with me. And then she went ahead and offered me a refund that I didn't even request with her program. And I'm watching the whole thing flip into they are the victim and I'm the problem. That's a pattern. And a lot of Black women, we know that pattern. You raise a concern, and suddenly you're the one attacking, you're the one who's misunderstanding, and you're the one who's making it a big deal. That experience left me feeling silenced because it really made me feel silenced by two white women who publicly positioned themselves as allies. After that experience, my rules changed completely. And oh, another experience that I had, I remember I was working with a therapist, and the therapist was a white Christian therapist. I know what you're saying, what you're screaming to the screen right now. I know. She came highly recommended. And I remember around the Black Lives Matter period, I had a lot of grief and mixed emotions, and the kind of grief that I needed support navigating. So I brought it into a session with my therapist, and her response included something like, God loves everyone, all lives matter. That moment was a full record scratch because I'm like, hold on, therapy is supposed to hold my reality, especially when I'm grieving. But instead, my grief got completely dismissed and it was replaced by her beliefs. It was not just, we disagree. That is, I would say, emotional invalidation in a space where I'm paying to be supported. So this experience intensified my grief because now I wasn't only grieving what's happening in America, I'm grieving that I can't even be safe in the place that I went for help. Obviously, I ended that relationship immediately because I'm like, no, this is not going to work. But that experience taught me that shared labels, Christian, doesn't equal shared understanding. And Christian doesn't mean culturally competent. And nice doesn't mean safe. And professional doesn't mean unbiased. I've talked before about suffering from fibroids and not getting the care that I need. Then I had to switch doctors. And I chose someone with an immigrant background, and suddenly my whole experience changed. And that's when it all clicked that sometimes the problem isn't me advocating poorly. Sometimes it's the provider cannot see you. Recently, I had something on my face that wouldn't go away. It started out as a pimple and then it never went away. So I was worried. And I decided, you know what? I'm finding a Black dermatologist who's in network. And that took me time to find that person. And I had a list. I made several calls. I did some research. It took me a month actually. Then I find her. And the plot twist here that turns out she does CrossFit at my gym. So I remember when she walked into the exam room, we both looked at each other and we're like, wait, you? And we laughed. This was a light moment. It felt human. And she ended up doing a small procedure that healed beautifully. Later on, she would even check and say, oh my God, you healed cleanly. So that experience, it felt like I was being taken seriously. I was being seen. I was being cared for without suspicion. And that's why I say being intentional can be work, but the payoff on the other side of all that research, the lists, all these calls is peace. Here's the mindset shift that keeps us from getting trapped in hype. Unless somebody is literally one of one in the world. When I say one of one, we're talking like Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of one. There is no monopoly, because you can find another coach, you can find another program, you can find another mentor, you can find another community. And the funny thing is, sometimes the other thing that you find is better, sometimes it's cheaper, and sometimes it's safer. So don't let marketing rush you into these unsafe situations that will drain your wallet too. And here are some of my non-negotiables now, especially for paid spaces. When I say paid spaces, you know, the Facebook group that comes, or now a lot of people use Circle. That's what I mean by paid spaces. Number one, watch how they handle conflict. Do they get curious or do they punish? Number two, read those policies like a contract. Take it and put it in ChatGPT. Read about cancellation, access, refunds, communication, boundaries, all of it. Number three, look for evidence of practice, not the slogan, the nice marketing, the nice branding. Look around. Who's in the room? How are Black women treated when there's tension in the room? Are issues addressed or they just brushed off? Number four, pay attention to your body. Pay attention to your intuition. If your chest tightens every time you log into that group, that's data that you should pay attention to. Don't ignore your intuition. Number five, ask what happens before you join. What happens when you're human? If you get sick, if you have an emergency, if you need clarity, do they have a system in place or do they shame people? Because a lot of allies, they are only brave when it's safe, meaning they will say the right thing as long as it doesn't cost them money, as long as it doesn't cost them reputation, or as long as it doesn't cost them their racist customer base. Because if supporting you required them to risk something, suddenly it's complicated. Suddenly I still have more unlearning to do. Suddenly I have to move differently. Well, you move accordingly too. And if you're a Black woman building your business online, I want you to hear me. Being intentional is not being difficult. It is not playing the race card. It is not overthinking. It is you protecting your money, protecting your energy, protecting your nervous system, and protecting your future. Protecting your future. Because your business, it's not a hobby. And your healing is definitely not negotiable. So let me ask you this question. If you've ever had an experience where a coach, a provider, or a safe space harmed you, I want you to drop in a comment what you learned, because you're not alone and you are definitely not crazy. And oh, if you know a Black therapist who accepts insurance, please, I'm listening. And with that, my name is Webley. I am on this consistency journey to show up on YouTube every day for 100 days. And today was day 39. And if you are on this consistency journey with me, thank you for watching. And if that's your first time watching me, please remember to subscribe and let me know what else you would like me to talk about, because I I really want to come in this space and talk about a lot of the things that I wish another immigrant had told me about. And this is all about making the journey a little bit more pleasant, isolating the drama, isolating all those things that might trump you in the process. And that shouldn't. So I will see you tomorrow for day 40, y'all. Day 40. So technically, I'm 40% there. 40%. All right. So I will see you tomorrow. Bye.